It's just a philosophy of like, why not me? Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't I do it? Someone has to do it, so why not me? And what I've learned doing my podcast, the Diverse Podcast, if you want to listen to that, or doing these events, talking to people, is really interesting people who've done incredible things. We've all, absolutely everyone, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, everyone has sat there and doubted themselves.
Yeah.
So when you think about it that way, you think even the best of the best, they're just figuring it out. Elon Musk is figuring it out just like I am.
Yeah. Welcome to this episode of Takeoff Podcast. Glad to have you. I have a very, very special guest in the building, Tobi, who is the founder of Diverse. So Diverse basically helps underrepresented young people, either at uni or elsewhere, to basically help them land roles at some of the top companies in the world, such as American Express, Capital One. And Tobi's very, very passionate about this, and I'm very, very excited to have him on board today. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm amazing, man. I'm amazing. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
You were kind enough to come to one of my events the other day, so I'm returning the favor.
Yeah. No, it's been good, man. That was good, actually. That was a good event. I very much enjoyed that, and it actually gave me a lot of buzz. Doing that,
right? You get that feeling, right? That's why I love what I do. You know, you give that advice, that you get people live, hear some comments. I don't know, it's nothing like that feeling.
Exactly. You can't really take away from that. So before we get into a bit more about you, I always ask everybody this question: what's your worst financial mistake?
Oh yeah, I noticed you asked this a couple of times. So I did have a think. I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? I've not made too many. And part of the reason was, you know, uni especially, we didn't have a whole lot of money to be making mistakes with. So, you know, there wasn't too many. But I do distinctly remember, and I'm glad I'm sharing this because I think other people can learn from this as well.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend, it was the second year of uni. I went to Loughborough Uni. We were in my room and playing Rayman on the PlayStation 4. And I was getting into
Love Rayman.
Great game.
It's a great game,
Got a call from Santander and they said, oh, someone's trying to hack into your account. We just need to verify a few details. I was like, this long. I'm about to complete Rayman. This just happened a while ago. Got a message from Nationwide, Standard. I know what this is all about. Just let me know what I need to do. And my man's like, we're just about to send you a code. Just read the code. Let me know what the code is. I was like, cool. All right. Let me get to it. Text message come through, 5682. Tell him. He goes, okay, thanks very much, sir. About to get this cleared up. We're about to send you another number. 2731.
Wow.
Send a text to him. And then I put my phone down, go back to playing Rayman, and I get a funny feeling. Funny feeling. And then I was like, nah, I'll be fine. Then I get another call from Santander, and they said, oh, Tobi, this is Santander. We've noticed some strange activity on your account. I'm like, no, you just called me. And they're like, we didn't call you.
Oh, gosh.
And so that was a lesson. So I lost £500.
Wow.
£200 and £300.
Wow.
Might not sound like a lot, but in second year uni,
that's broke, a lot at university.
That's game changing. Do you know what I mean? That means we ain't going out for a couple months.
Oh my gosh.
So that was devastating. But shout out to Santander if you're listening. Got my money
Santander,
back,
that's great.
So it's all good.
Good customer service. I use Santander. Very, very good customer service. It sounds like that. Yeah. That's good. Oh wow.
But I'm glad I shared that because, you know, that happens to people, and I felt really, really bad about it. But you just got to remember, they rarely call you, and if they do, you can just say, "Look, I'm going to call you back just to make sure." Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah,
no, you know what's so funny about that? You remind me of a situation that happened to me. I can't remember who it was, but it was one of my utilities years ago called me, and they asked me for my password. And I was about to give it to them, and I just turned off the phone. I was like, that's weird. Why would they just call me just to ask me for my password to verify? I was like, no, they're very slick, actually, these days. I've had another recent one that happened with Amazon where they do the whole text to make you like, oh my God, like somebody's done something on your account, click. It gives you that
quickly.
Exactly. It gives you that sense of fear, and that's where it doesn't give you the time to think, which is why you go into the mistake. But yeah, definitely get that one. Okay, but it's good. You haven't steered into too many financial mistakes. Oh my gosh. Are you able to give us an insight into what your day in the life is like at the moment?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, I'm the founder of Diverse, as you said off top. Free careers community for, say, Black, Asian, ethnic minority, students and graduates, young professionals here in the UK. Basically, we just help them get jobs. So we do careers events. We've got a podcast, the Diverse Podcast. Got lots of guides on how to network for jobs, how to interview for and then we've got a job board with employers who are really focused on and committed to diversity and inclusion. So they're working with us to try and tap into our audience that we have. And they super committed to diversity and inclusion. They recognize that they want to help us support our community, which is really, really nice. And you're in a world now where lots of companies putting out these statements. The ones that we work with, we kind of ask them to back it up with action. So for example, they give us exclusivity. So, you know, at times, not always, but, you know, 2 weeks window where the jobs only open with us.
Wow, that's cool.
Or we'll do like events, or we'll connect them directly to the recruiter to have a chat, things like that, to really, really make a difference. You know, people are underrepresented and we just want to bridge that gap. So day in the life, wake up about 6:45. So I'm an early riser. I'm a morning person.
Wow, that's early.
I'm useless, bro. I'm useless after 3 p.m. I've got a philosophy now that I should probably only work till like 2 p.m. maybe.
Okay. 6 hours. I think I heard 6 hours is enough. I think it the Spotify CEO. I think he said you've only got between 5 to 6 hours creative time. After that, it's downhill. I think that's what he said. He said it was a short time limit. It wasn't like 8-9 hours, like the sort of, you know, times and amounts of time that we work. But I think between 5 to 6 hours creative time that you can actually do work.
That makes me feel good because my copywriting at 4 p.m. is dead. So who knows what's happening in this podcast because it's 7 p.m. Who knows what's going to happen? But wake up 6:45, just get straight down to it. And I just want to tell you about my breaks actually. So I usually break at like 10:30. And then have a break again for lunch at 12. And then I'll do a bike ride at like every single day. I need to do that bike ride to refresh my mind at like 3. And then in between, you know, might do a podcast recording. I might write a newsletter that goes out. Might do a SMS, a lot of copywriting. Meetings with young people. That's what I love, doing events and that sort of thing. But I tried to keep my calendar a little bit light. I don't want to have too many meetings unnecessarily.
Interesting.
So I try and do that.
Wow, very methodical. Why is it so methodical? Like you got your 6:45, you got the 10:30 meeting, you got your bike ride
every day,
and then wow. Why is that deliberate? I'm guessing it sounds like it is,
I feel like you have to, right? If you're when I started, I was a one-person entrepreneur. Luckily now I've just expanded, got a couple of employees for the first time, which is cool.
That's fantastic,
you gotta be, if you're gonna be a one-person startup or a small team, you gotta be on it. You've got to be lean. You got to be efficient. You got to block time. So every hour of the calendar is blocked out with certain tasks, and that time is based on my priorities. So it's got to be like an army out here. It's a military operation. That's how you got to do it. People look at it and say, how are you doing working with all these employers at a small scale? That's the only way I've seen to make that work.
Wow, that is we're gonna delve deeper into this and how you actually do this and how you actually got to the stage, but just take me back a little bit. What did you actually do before you started Diverse?
So I started off, I went to Loughborough University, graduated 2017, and I worked at BT Sport.
What was it that you studied?
Economics.
Economics. So you have kind of like a slight tendency to business in a way.
In a way, I think it just helps you understand how money operates in the world. There's only so many things you take from your degree, to be honest. The analytical thinking maybe, but I worked in BT Sport, so did things like managed the mobile app, so the BT Sport app. I worked in business development. The first job I had was actually in the team that sells to pubs and bars and hotels. So my job was just to go around there and like check out.
Have a pint as well.
Life's good, do you know what I mean? I can't complain. So I did that for a few years, and then the last job I had was in partnerships. So I was between sort of BTE and tech companies like Google and Amazon. And, I loved it for a while. I learned a lot. But then it got to a point where I was like, is that all I'm going to be doing? You know,
Yeah.
helping Google and Amazon and Microsoft earn just a bit more money.
Yeah.
If I left, if I get hit by a bus, they
Yeah.
would just replace me the day after. And
Oh
that kind of dawned on me.
Sounds so dire.
It's true though, man.
Yeah.
That dawned on me, you know, especially during the pandemic when you have so much time. I think it's the same for a lot of people. So much time to just sit and think about what you really, really want. And I was like, I want a bit more. I want to have an impact.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I really did something. So
Okay.
that's what happened.
Wow. That's a great story. So I'm wondering where at what point did you get the the idea for Diverse at that point in your journey where you were working at the BT? Was it literally right at the end, in the middle, or you just always wanted to do this and then you just finally took the plunge during pandemic?
I think I've always been passionate about helping out young, I think especially young Black professionals. While I was working there, I volunteered on a program, which was for people who are out of work, out of education. And essentially it was like a microcosm of what I do now. So I would go in and I would set up like an assessment center. I would do like mock interviews and things like that. And I walked away and I did that 3-4 times. I was like, that feeling is incredible.
Yeah.
That feels more fulfilling than what I'm doing on my day-to-day basis. I was like, I want more of that. You know what I mean? But I never really had the idea, if you like. It all happened by accident. And I think this is the first lesson. People sort of write down loads of ideas. They're like, I got to try and find my business idea. You know, I've got to come up with something no one's ever seen before. That's not the way I think most good businesses are started. It's usually started by looking at problems that probably you experience and then finding a way to solve that problem. So I, because of the pandemic, I obviously wasn't commuting. So that gave me a lot of time back. You know, I just told you I'm a morning person. So I'm getting up anyways.
You got like 3 hours.
Exactly. What am I do? Can't watch Netflix right there. So got to do something. And I just started putting out content. I remember what happened actually. I was really annoyed. I remember it was BBC one day. I was in the living room. On TV, there was 3 different points that was made. All about Black people in the UK. And one was because of the virus, that group of people are more likely to be in long-term unemployment. Point number 1. I was like, all right, that's annoyed me a little bit right there. Point number 2, more likely to suffer from long-term mental health issues. Annoyed me as well. And then the third point was we're literally more susceptible from dying from the virus. I was like, you know what, I'm done now. There's one too many. And I thought, you know, what can I do? Okay, I've done internships, placements, grad schemes, entry-level roles. That's what I know. And let me just help people do that. So I just started creating free content. So LinkedIn posts, website, just free content. Started helping people get jobs and got that great feeling again. And so it all happened by accident. And it wasn't until I had this big community, this big audience where I was like, hold on. And I think because of the virus, a lot of people needed that support. I was like, hold on, what? I could monetize this, right? Like they're all there looking for opportunities. Then you got a load of companies that would be willing to pay to advertise that audience. So you just put a job board in between. And then because of what happened last year with Black Lives Matter movement, NSARS, Nigeria, George Floyd as well, massive focus on diversity and inclusion. And it's not easy for employers to hire or attract diverse talent. And I can help them with that, essentially.
Wow. That's crazy story. And I love the fact that you said that it was like almost like a eureka moment. It wasn't like some sort of pre-planned, preordained way to get. And I feel like what you said a very important point in terms of people trying to find this fantastic idea. Sometimes you actually will never know until you try. People are so stuck on the idea stage, they don't want to do the execution or even try to fail. But you just like, this is a problem I want to solve. Let me go about trying to solve it, and you were passionate. You weren't just trying to make money. You were actually passionate about solving the problem. Then you feel, actually, I can also make money from this. Win-win, right? So I just was wondering.
But just on that, the passion's so important, right? Like the Steve Jobs quote is like,
super passionate.
If you have to be passionate if you're going to go into business, because any rational person would quit when it gets tough, and it will get tough. Right?
It will always get tough. It always gets tough.
It always gets tough. And just in terms of like coming up with business ideas, it's so difficult to go out there and just come up with the next Twitter or the next Facebook. Instead, what I think it makes sense for me, look at what already makes money. Look at what already is a thing. So a job board is already a thing. sponsorship is already a thing, newsletter, paid newsletter, already a thing, and then put your spin on that. So I think everyone wants to get to that point where they're that YouTuber, they're that podcast making that money already. Most people have that thing in between that bridges the gap, which is like an agency or something that makes money in a normal way. And that fuels your ability to try and do the other crazy things as well.
That's quite smart. Okay, I've got a lot of questions to ask you. So the job board, where did that idea come from for the job board? Where was the inspiration? Why do you think job board and nothing else?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a thing that if you're going to go to an employer, and you've got this crazy idea or something that's intangible, it's hard for them to say, yeah, let's go into business, let's make money. When you start with, okay, got this job board, okay, I'm used to that, that's great. Oh, and by the way, we've got a community of underrepresented Black and Asian ethnic minorities, and we're providing them with this support in the forms that they understand through video and media and podcast content. They're like, they put two together and they love it. So that's just kind of where it came from. And talking to candidates as well, right? Like, I'm 27 now, so I'm a bit far removed, but just talking to people and finding out what they want. They're like, yeah, we see all these diversity statements, but we want to find out who's really about it because we're socially conscious.
Okay.
So you just put it to get,
Okay. So, wow. So you're kind of like the companies that actually work with you. You're like, actually, no, these guys are actually putting action behind their words because actually they are advertising their roles on with us, right? So they actually are. They're not just saying a statement. And they're not doing anything. Wow, that's
and their time as well, right? Like it's one thing to put your money into it, but it's another thing to come to my events, come to a podcast, give up your time and give advice. And any employers listening, trying to figure out what to do, focus on what you know, and help them understand how to get a job at your company or what different roles are like or what you're doing, right? And understand personal finance. Just help first, and then ask after that.
Okay, fantastic. Very, very interesting. In terms of clients. Who was your first client? Are you able to tell us who your first client was? And how did you get them? That's what I'm even more interested in knowing.
Well, I'll tell you the first big clients. Like I had some smaller agencies in the beginning, but Capital One was probably the first big company that like really believed in me. And so I really, really, really do appreciate that. And then after that, some more big names, Warner Media, Uni Days Now, Blackrock, Capital One. I can rattle them off. I really appreciate it. But how did I get them? So all pretty similar, to be honest. All a similar way and very, very simple. You see all my philosophies are very, very simple. I don't like to overcomplicate things. I don't think I'm a genius.
Simplicity is the way forward, I think.
What's the great thing about B2B, right? If anyone out there has got a B2B business or wants to build a B2B business, which is what I would recommend for your first business, is that you can, how amazing it is, the title of the person that you want to sell to. You can find that email address. There's this amazing place with millions of people on there, which is just for this type of thing called LinkedIn. It just happens to exist, and you can just dive into that, connect with someone, slide into the DM and strike up a conversation. It's just the most incredible thing. So pretty much all of my business has come from just finding talent acquisition leaders at these companies on LinkedIn, and then having a phone call to talk to them, a video call. And again, because of the pandemic, everyone's sat at home. So they're just sat at home waiting for you to call. Like, this is a normal thing now. And in terms of strategies and tactics, people probably listening thinking, what's the B2B sales? What's the key to success there? The way I did it is, what I've done is I've learned from others. So I needed an accountant. So I called up a few different accountants to try and see who to go with, right? And the way, I don't know, you probably spoke to a lot of accountants in your time, but the way they sell to you is by offering you financial advice on the call. And so they're like, oh, I've basically just saved you £1,000 now because that advice. You're like, okay, great. Oh, I'm only £100 a month. So then in your head, you're like, oh, you've actually just saved me that already. So I have the same philosophy when I talk to businesses. I'll reach out to them and say, because everyone's worried that you're going to waste their time. So you got to succinctly tell them you're not going to take too long. So it's a quick call. And you want to add value to them, right? Which makes me feel better because I feel guilty if I take someone's time away and I try and sell something. I'm not salesy, so that would make me feel bad. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to, for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hear about your strategy around hiring Gen Z talent. And I'm going to try and give you some advice. I spend all my time talking to them. So I'm going to see what I can do to help you with that.
Okay.
So my strategy is I'll go in and I'll give them some tips, and they're like, okay, it really resonates with them, and then you go from there. So that's my strategy, you know, go and add value, and then try and close your sale after that. It's the same philosophy with the candidates.
Okay.
Help them first, and then ask them to apply the job. It's the same philosophy.
Okay.
Simple,
wow.
right?
Yeah. Wow. So it sounds like you can consult, offering like consultancy services in a way. Obviously, yeah, it's kind of right. Yeah. That's the word for it, right? So you give them some assistance with some stuff. You review their strategy, and actually, it makes sense because who they're targeting is you. They're targeting you. So who better than to talk to you about it, right? That's right. You could say, yes, you're targeting me, and this is what I, sort of need, and this is what I want. And then from there, you're also saying, actually, by the way, I also have a community of all these people like me that you're after. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that is fantastic. Don't try and sell. If that's not your, I don't think I'm the best salesman in the world, so I don't try and sell. And I go overly honest as well. Yeah. I'm like, this is how many people we got. That they need support. That's why they're with us. So they're not all, walking around getting jobs left, right, and center. They need a bit of support. Here's the price. Do you want to go for it or not? And I think if you go for radical honesty, especially in the world that we're in now, you'll be surprised, man.
I feel like honesty is definitely the best policy. Is like what they say, and especially like you said these days, because these people, you don't want to waste their time. You just want to get straight to the point, say this is what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, you don't want to come appear transactional. You want to care about what they're doing. You do care, which is why you're reaching out to them. So I was just thinking, so one of your clients, American Express. So say I wanted to apply to one of their grad roles. What would I need to do to give myself the best chance to, land a grad role there?
Yeah, no, this is a good question. And I think a lot of the companies I've mentioned, they are competitive, right? It is difficult to get these jobs. So anyone who does apply and doesn't get them, don't feel bad. Sometimes I look at these jobs and I think, damn, would I get them if I applied? I'm kind of an expert in this stuff now, but would I get it? Because it's competitive, right? So, that's the first thing I would say. Don't feel disheartened if you don't get it. But because of that, right, we've got to look at it from the employer's perspective. They're going to get a lot of applications. Oftentimes they come to me and say, Toby, we don't want many more applications. We want to find the right people that really want to work here. Okay. So that's the first lesson, right? You get lots of people who go and apply to these jobs, and they give these generic, robotic answers. They'll say the things that they think the company wants to hear, and they just get it over and over and over again. Why do you want to work here? And they just repeat something they've seen on the about page or something, and just they can just see all the way through it. And I don't blame the students, because they think that is what the employers want to hear. They don't. They want you to be yourself. They want you to be unique. And that's the best way to stand out. So if you can essentially get as personal as you can, as much as you're comfortable with, that will really, really help you stand out. And just an exercise to go through, if I asked you, why do you want to work at American Express, and you just gave me a cut answer from the website, I would say to you, what would you say if you were in the pub with your friend, or at the bar with a friend, or on a date or something, and they asked you why you want to work there? They always give fantastic answers when you say that. What is the real reason? What is the real reason? For Warner Media, for example, there was someone who, she just gave a boring answer. I'm like, this is Warner Media. This is the most fun place. Do you know what I mean? They got all the best content in the world. And she said, when I was younger, I grew up watching Rick and Morty with my family on the way to school, and it made me feel like this. I'm like, okay, they need to hire you. It's that kind of thing. That personal.
Is the reason.
Get personal.
I like that. That's how to do it. That is very true. And I think for a lot of grads, when I take myself back to grad, that was a while ago now, 7-8 years ago for me. But when I take myself back, I think a lot of that comes down to confidence. I think a lot of it, you are trying to impress the company, but you're not also realizing that actually they're trying to look for the best talent too. So they also want to equally impress you, but you don't see it like that. You're just seeing it as I need to get any big job that I can get, so I can get paid. But you don't value yourself as much then. But whereas if you do value yourself, I think you're going to be a lot more honest, and you're going to give the sort of right answers. So it's definitely I think there's definitely a bit of a gap, which is where I think you're definitely filling in by giving that education. And also, I was listening to a podcast today, which was very interesting. It was talking about the fear of senior people. And I think those same fears is the same for students, right? They see big companies as these like godly, oh my God, like, can I really work there? And I was also like this, right? So I work on one of the big four. And now that since I've worked there, I'm not to say that it's not a good place to work. I'm not trying to say that, but I definitely put it up on a pedestal. I put it up on a pedestal as a place of, I don't think I can get there. I don't think I can, even when I applied for the job, I didn't think I was good enough for the job. That's how like ridiculous it was. So I think sometimes you put things on a pedestal, not realizing that these companies are full of people like me and you, right? Okay, you might not get the job, but that doesn't devalue you in any way. So yeah, it's very interesting.
There's a load of these companies.
Yeah,
honest,
lots.
Where's the camera? I'm gonna let you in on the secret, right? There's Google, there's Facebook, there's Microsoft, there's Amazon. That's a lot of tech companies I just named there.
Yeah.
There's only one of you, right? You're picking between them. Amazon want you to work there and not work at Google. Google want you to work there and not at Amazon. Yeah. So, back yourself as well. Have some confidence in that they need you as much as you need them. They're fighting for talent in the same way you're fighting for a job. So you kind of got to remember that as well.
No, they're very, very, very interesting. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode. I do really appreciate your support so far. If you do want to support the production of this podcast further and you want to get early access to the next episode of the Takeoff podcast, or you want to join in a monthly live Q&A, make sure to check out the link in my description. Either pledge to my Patreon or subscribe to my YouTube membership. Either way, I do appreciate you supporting me and helping me to build the best business and finance community in the world. I do hope that you enjoyed the rest of this episode. So a lot of people sort of, feel like they don't belong at certain companies. So, a lot of your students, they're probably looking at some of these companies, American Express, Capital One, can they actually, work here? And for me, what it actually takes me into is there's some sense of imposter syndrome. For you, who's the founder of Diverse, how do you overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah, well, before I talk about myself, just on everyone else, what I've really learned, because I've seen so many people get jobs at the absolute best places, and you realize there's no difference between them and the person that's got loads of rejections that feels that they can't do it. You know, it might just be a look at your CV or something, but someone's there is listening or watching this and thinking, I can't do it. I could never get to, Google. And I spoke to a guy who just got a job at Google who just went through all those rejections and thought the same thing. So I know it's tough, but you just really gotta believe in yourself and keep going. Yeah. And to be honest, there's a lot of impressive people at these companies, but you'd be surprised, they're not from a different planet. Do you know what I mean? Like they're people too. But for me, maybe I might not be the best person in the world to answer this one personally, because I've definitely had imposter syndrome in the past. I think we all go through it at times, but I don't know. I grew up doing athletics. I'm a very competitive guy. I did athletics. I did track and field for 11 years.
Wow.
100 meters hurdles. I was Midlands champion back in 2012. Back in a long time ago now. But I'm a competitive person, so I kind of walk into these scenarios, and I'm like, okay. A lot of people feel a bit of doubt, if you're the only person in the room that looks a certain way. I'm like, you know what, cool. I'm gonna show you. Even if you run into a few people you think they're looking down on me because of X, Y, and Z, because of where I'm from, or because I didn't go to this school. I'm like, cool, I like that. I'm an underdog. You set the bar low for me. You set the bar low for me. That's easier for me to get over it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, that I try and come in with a bit of an edge and be like, you know what, go ahead, doubt me. Like, I think in a way, like, just go in and try and thrive in that scenario. I know it's tricky, but that's kind of the way I approach it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense, but maybe I'm not the best person to answer that, but it's kind of like, it's just a philosophy of like, why not me? Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't I do it? Someone has to do it, so why not me? And what I've learned doing my podcast, the Diverse podcast, if you want to listen to that, or doing these events, talking to people, is really interesting people who've done incredible things. We've all, absolutely everyone, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, everyone has sat there and doubted themselves. So when you think about it that way, you think even the best of the best, they're just figuring it out. Elon Musk, he's figuring it out just like I am. So once you understand that, you're like, it shouldn't be imposter syndrome anymore because we're all feeling that way.
Exactly. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree with it. It's just like you said, you just got to battle through it and just go through it. Like, you're gonna feel like that, but sometimes maybe be comfortable being uncomfortable. At times, I definitely have imposter syndrome, but like you, I'm competitive, and I just say I can do it. You know, yeah. Sometimes I'll give myself like, oh, okay, but then the next day I'm like, yes, I tell you, you can do it. You can definitely do it. And I think that is definitely a great way to be.
So just on that imposter syndrome as well, like I felt it with looking around and seeing lots of competitors, like I say competitors, other companies raising money and and I'm this bootstrap small business, and you know, you have that sort of fear. But then I really thought about it and thought, if you keep redefining like what your USP is and who you are and like what you bring to the table, you know, your elevator pitch, you keep redefining that until you're the best in the world. So you kind of find a niche for yourself. So no one, I kind of learned this, can create the media that I create for my company. Like anyone can go and just put together a job board, but you gotta, you know, reflect the podcast that I create, the videos that I do, the events that, you know, those are all things that are unique to me. Yeah. Same thing if you're in a company or going into an interview, just think only you can be the best you. Yeah. You know, you got to redefine what that means until it's true. But that I think helps me as well, you know, having that niche.
I love that. I was thinking it all this time, like, you are your own superpower. You are unique, right? And I feel like if you are somewhere and you're doing something, you actually deserve to be there. You shouldn't doubt the reason why you're there. If you're doing well and you're getting success out of it, whether it's at a company or in your own business, why are you doubting yourself? Someone's got you're doing it, right? So people think you're good at doing it. And even if you're not good at something, you can continually improve. It's that not being scared to fail. I think a lot of people need to get over the fact of failure. And I feel like when we were, you know, much younger, failure wasn't a problem. We didn't really worry about it, right? We will climb someone, we'll fall, we'll try again. But as you get older, you're just so much more scared to make mistakes. You want to just be perfect when nobody is perfect in this world. I just don't understand.
It's because as kids, we live in the present moment always in the present moment. And there's so many moments, and that's why childhood feels like it goes on for so long, because we're always in the present moment. Whereas as adults, we worry about the future and we've got regrets about the past. So that's what stops us. But for me, my fear is not trying, right? That's the worst, right?
I think that's the worst as well.
Regretting not going for it.
End of your life.
Failure is winning.
What have you done? You just regretting that you didn't do what you needed to do.
Like, all the great things that you do in your life will come after you failed trying something. I truly believe that. Yeah.
I completely agree. So you're definitely motivated. I mean, from everything you've told me, you're motivated. I mean, even just, you know, contacting people on LinkedIn, you know, building your own business, you know, building this community of young people to get them into these companies. Where does your motivation come from, you say?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I think the only way I've been able to do what I've done is because it's so important to me. So in my life, you know, at whatever point, I want to look back and say I had an impact. Yeah. And the thing I'm passionate about is helping out, you know, young Black and ethnic minority people in the UK. That's my thing that I want to say I did, you know. And so it's just that North Star of getting there. Like I get frustrated, like, you know, it's a cliche thing that Black people driving really fancy cars, you know, in London, we get pulled over, right? Like that's a cliche thing that always, it happens. You see it on the news every now and again. And my sort of North Star, my little sort of dream I tell myself is like, one day that's not going to be a cliche anymore, because there's going to be too many of us driving fancy cars.
I love that.
Too many of us to pull over. So it's not going to be a cliche anymore. So it's just like having those little North Stars that we're working towards every day. When it gets a little bit tough, it's kind of, you remember that. And I have no idea how people can run businesses if it's not like, I don't know, selling some e-commerce like phone cases. I couldn't do it. I just can't do it. I need to have something that I feel is important.
I know what you're saying. Like, some people are just really driven by money. They just want a better life for themselves, and you know, that's what their drive is. But you're right. Like, I think you and I, we don't have that kind of drive. We want to make some sort of impact, and we have. I think for me, if I didn't have some sort of purpose where it was like helping people with financial literacy, I don't think the days where it's really tough, I'll continue going. Because there's days like I'm like, oh, should I pack this in? And I'm like, nope. That's your goal. That's what you're doing. You're making an impact in the world, and that's what keeps me going. But for some people, I guess money's enough of a driver. Yeah. You know, no judgment here. So I'm thinking about challenges. What would you say has been your biggest challenge in, being the founder of Diverse?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. We don't want to make it sound like it's easy, definitely. I definitely feel like it can be done, but there's challenges along the way. There's a few. It's hard to come up with just one. I think especially, it's probably true for everyone, but you look at Gen Z as an audience, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to capture their attention.
Yeah.
This is the thing with marketing. You're competing. No one cares. No one cares. Just in the simplest way. Everyone cares about themselves, right? You wake up, you do your morning routine, you go to work, come back, go to the gym, whatever. Go on a date with the other half or whatever. That's what you care about. Watching Squid Game on Netflix.
Yeah.
Watching Arsenal on the weekend. That's what you do. That's what you want to do, right? What you don't want is to be hit with something and say, oh, let me grab your attention. So that's one of the hardest things to do is grab someone's attention. Yeah. And what I've really learned is, I've got all these great things I do for people. They're like, can I get a job? I want a job. Like, people are looking for something. And in my world, it's like they want a graduate scheme. So it's like, can you get a graduate scheme? Can you help me with that? Yes, no. If not, I'm out. Do you know what I mean? You have their attention for 3, 4, 5 seconds. Yeah. So it's just that, I'm not sure how clear that was, but just that idea of like being really succinct in your any of your messages. Yeah. So that they know you're not wasting their time and you can help them get to whatever that goal is. I think that's probably the most challenging part of it. And then, just obviously running a business is challenging, especially in the beginning where you're by yourself most of the time. Every single decision is just going on in here. Whereas it's a lot easier when you're bouncing off other people and talking. So I think that's been difficult because you don't want to burden, other people too much talking about your business. So that was challenging. But no, now I've got a small team that's going to go
That's
away.
Great. How big is your team now?
So we've got 4 people.
Okay, wow.
Mostly,
Wow, business must be good.
It's going well, but they're not all full-time though, so it's kind of a mixture, part-time and that sort of thing. But growing nicely, so can't complain.
Wow. And I think, going back to the challenges of, capturing people, like you said, we're competing with a lot. Netflix, other people on Instagram. You're competing with a lot of other media trying to distract people from doing what they need to do to progress their life, or maybe even people like you, but not giving as good content, or maybe trying to clickbait them into other stuff. So I get why some people might be like, is this really, because there's a trust element, right? That's why you built such a big community, because they're like, actually, no, I can trust this person. It's putting out really good content. I'm able to get a job through all these big companies. These big companies are actually coming out and talking to us to try and help us get in. And then that's where the trust element comes, and they just share it. And then you're able to build your community there because you're definitely authentic. I think it's definitely very interesting. Marketing these days is so interesting, especially in the UK. I think it's like, I was reading somewhere that UK, US, other areas, the marketing is a little bit different. US, they're a bit more like the grabby UK. We don't really like the grabby stuff too much. I don't know, I'm a little bit on the fence. I think grabby still gets people. Like, I did a post about Squid Game. To be fair, it had value.
That, by the way.
Yeah, everybody really loved that one. Yeah, that took me a little bit of time, but so something like that, right? I know what caught people's attention. Squid Game.
Right? It's contextual.
Do you know what I mean? But I contextualize it. If I just did a normal like five things to help you be better with your finances, I would have got the likes, but it would have probably not been as impactful. So sometimes you have to like tread carefully that line between the two and try and capture the attention. It's very, very, very.
No, you're really good at it. Your channel is growing beautifully, man. So you're really good at it.
Thank you. So going on to a bit of career advice, because we're trying to, obviously we've given them so much value from a business point of view, but from a careers point of view. What would you say are the most important skills that you need to land your first grad job?
I just think about it from this perspective. If I was interviewing or hiring people now, and especially for graduate jobs, they're not looking for you to have a tremendous amount of experience or even, you mentioned skills, but just off the top, like if you don't have much experience, because usually you have very clear, for like me and you've done this job that gave you this skill, so it's nice and easy. When you're younger, it's a little bit harder. So I guess that's the first lesson. Like if it's not immediately clear to you that you have a long list of skills, think about what you have done. So if you've done a part-time job, if you've worked at Sainsbury's or Tesco, or you've been a carer, or you've done anything like that, there are a huge number of skills that you've developed, customer management, and it could be marketing, business development, sales. I think everyone needs to look at what they've done and have pride in it. That's what I've seen so often. They're like, oh, Toby, but I've got no experience. And but then you ask them, they're like, oh, I did this e-commerce store, worked in ASOS or whatever. And they've done all this great experience. And so I think it's just taking a bit of time to reflect the skills that you've developed. And in some ways you need to dress up nicely what you've done, and there's a good podcast that I did with this guy who worked at Foot Locker, and he was kind of just saying how you could just say, oh, you work at Foot Locker, but instead he was like, oh, but I sold shoes, but then I learned what people really valued, and I cross-sold protective spray.
That's smart.
Because I knew that that people would think about it. Oh, I've bought this lovely shoe that I want to protect. So it's like he just framed it in such a great way of the skills he developed from something that seems relatively simple. But in answer to your question, though, I think it's the ability to make fairly complicated things really simple. I think that's really, really important. I think that's why you value certain degrees sometimes. And I think people go into interviews and they make things really complicated because they want to sound smart, and they assume the employer is smart, which they are, but they weren't there at the time. So they don't get what the hell you're talking about. So, taking something complicated and making it really simple, like you were explaining it to a child in an interview, I think is really, really powerful. That's the type of thing that I look for, because that's what you have to do internally. You're talking to people who are super busy. They just want to know the key things, the key facts. They make it really, really simple. And then on top of that, it's really just like being keen and being willing to learn. They don't want you to come in and say, I've got all these skills, I'm the best of the best, you need to hire me. They want someone who comes and say, yeah, I've developed these skills, I've done this, I've not done a huge amount of that, but I'd love to learn. I'd love to learn from you because you've done all these great projects as well. That's the type of person you want to work with.
That sounds good. I love that. That's fantastic. That is very, very true. I feel like a lot of people that go to university just don't really look at what they've done at university and what they picked up at university and apply that to their CV. It doesn't make no sense, because actually a lot of what you do, or a lot of the skills that you're learning from university, you can actually apply it to work. Like you talk about all of this sort of analytical thinking, working with others in a group to do a group project. A lot of people don't think about this and how it can translate to actually just adding that to your CV just to say that you had that. And also how you talked about job. In fact, when you said about jobs, I do remember also being a little bit embarrassed about some of my retail jobs in the past. And I thought, you know what, let me just add it. But you're right, you pick up so much valuable skills from doing that, right? You can communicate with a customer, which is what you also have to do when you're working at any of these big companies, right? Sell, that's also a skill. Cross-sell, like you said, like all of these things are things people think it's alien, but it's the same thing, but maybe more, it's not more professional, but it's in a corporate, should we say, corporate setting. So I feel like a lot of people can't, and I think that again, that's where your platform does it. Talking about,
I used to work in a peanut factory.
Peanut factory. Oh wow,
that was tough. That was the toughest, few months of my life. Just like that drive that you develop, that's valuable now to this day. And I just think the other thing I would say is go out there and grab your own opportunities. The pandemic was at a time where we saw a lot of jobs fall away. The unemployment rate obviously went up, and if you're a young person there, if you're at uni, or if you didn't go to uni as well, you're really interested in social media, or let's just say someone like you is really interested in personal finance. Look at what you've done, right? Like start your own Instagram page, give out free advice, be careful with financial advice, create some content around that if that's what you're really interested in, or if you're analytical, going into an interview with Blackrock, why not do your own analysis and say, bring to the interview, oh, by the way, I did this analysis on last quarter and found these trends, just wanted to share that with you. That's called like the brief briefcase technique in an interview.
I like
where
that.
you bring something to the table that wasn't asked for.
Yeah.
But you show them that you can do the job before you get the job.
Okay.
And then suddenly, there's 10 other people here, none of them did it. We need to hire, Sheila that brought in that briefcase with the keys to the next quarter.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I completely love that. I've never heard of the briefcase technique. Very, very interesting. Might have to talk about that a bit more. Talking about CVs, what would you say a student needs to highlight on their CV? What are some of the key things that they should highlight on their CV? Not completely going through it because I know we're talking about it, but what would you say?
Yeah, so firstly, I'm biased. Everyone's biased. There's no one right way to do a CV, but I'm a big believer of a one-page CV. Just because, like some of the things we've been saying, if you can reflect a lot of information in a short, succinct way, that to me is a skill. So people are like, I've got too many things, I need to put it on 3 pages. I'm like, well, that's a skill though, to be able to only include what's really important. So that's the first thing I would say, try and get it onto 1 page. And, on my website, we've got lots of CV examples, successful, real examples that graduates have used. And you can just copy that sort of layout, make it really simple so that when they pick it up, they just scan through 1 page really quick and they can see what you bring to the table. Yeah. And I would just try and say with every single point, try and be ruthless in only including the thing that's going to get you that job, right? And tailor it. So if you've got a bit of a profile at the beginning, make it really specific to the company and the role. They hate it when they pick up CVs and they think it's not quite relevant to them and you just copy and paste it or whatever. So make it really, really specific. And then make it really action orientated. So your bullet points to experience should be demonstrated this, managed this, achieved this, all action orientated, and you don't need to waste space by saying, I did this, you just dive straight into it. So make it really action orientated so they can see you're actually responsible for driving impact. And then the other big thing is include numbers. So numbers are so important. So that demonstrates, that makes you more credible to an employer when they can see, this person really turns the needle, or turns the dial rather. And you can say things like, when I worked at Sainsbury's, I liaised with 50 people per day, or, on my Instagram account, I increased it from 0 to 2,000 followers. Those numbers mean a lot of things. And if you take away one thing from today, I guess, from what I'm saying, it's like when you apply for jobs, there's like a spectrum of people. There's like on the left here is like what everyone is willing to do and does, which is like hit the easy apply button on LinkedIn and send the same CV, cover letter to everywhere. And on the other scale, other side of the scale, you've got people that go outside the box. They go that extra little bit further. They network, they reach out to people, they network throughout the interview process to find out those little nuggets that they can use in their interview. And they can kind of stand out on their CV by being kind of really unique and going the extra mile. That is the key. That's the key. That's what you're looking for. So get those numbers in nice and short and succinct, and super tailored. I think if you do that, then you'd be all right. And as I said, on my website, we've got lots of examples.
Fantastic.
So basically just copy them,
Fantastic. We're going to add link to the description to Diverse's website so you can have some of that resource. The final question from me is, what things can a student do to thrive in a big company? I know what advice I could give, having worked at several big companies, but I want to know what advice that you have for them.
I love that question, and I spend a lot of my time, getting people jobs. So I almost don't worry about this part, because that's what people really need, is to get that first job, and then they're through the door. But you're right, you got to thrive when you get there. Otherwise, you might not be there that long.
1 month. No, I'm kidding. No, that'd be crazy. But
so what I would say is, when what happens is when you're starting your job as a young professional, what happens in business is problems. So my old mentor used to tell me, if there were no problems in business, we wouldn't have any jobs. The only reason we have a job is to solve problems.
Very true.
When you get there, and you'll get that imposter syndrome first, you feel like you're struggling in some ways. Everyone feels like that. Then problems will arise, and you'll think, "Damn, the world is falling." This client said this, they're leaving us. That I did this wrong. I misread that, which I did a couple of times. Definitely, it's got all hell's going to break loose. and then you go and like you bring that problem to other people, and your manager's got a load of their problems to deal with, and they're thinking about that. And so the first thing really is to, instead of bring a problem, bring a solution as best you can. So when you're in the early part of your career, you won't necessarily have like decision-making authority for a lot of things. But what you can do is come to me as your manager and say, Toby, this thing has gone wrong because of this. This is what I think we should do about it.
Yeah.
And I've already spoken to Jessica in HR, and I think we should do this because for these reasons. And so that already puts you in this top percent, because every other person on the scheme will just come to me and say, Toby, this has gone wrong. What should I do? And so, but you can come to me in a safe space and say, this is what I think we should do. But please, obviously, you've got a lot more experience. What would you suggest? So bring solutions, not problems. That would be what I would say. And I think what I try to do was always being assertive in taking on new challenges and new projects and things like that, to just constantly expand, to keep getting outside of my comfort zone, because then you just rack up these wins that you could put onto your CV. And just going back to the CV, you want to be finding projects that you can put numbers to. So when you're applying to the next job, you can be adding those to your CV. And with every single one of those projects, just take it on confidently, because I learned this, like, it makes no difference. Like when you're given, especially if you're given a project, you've got to do it anyway. So you might as well
try your best.
Or just act like you know what you're doing.
You
might as well go for it. But like we said earlier as well, be super honest, because I think the one thing that's kind of unforgivable in this world is like dishonesty. You're much better off coming and saying, I made this mistake, I messed up, sorry, rather than trying to lie about it. I think those are some of the big ones. But what do you think though?
Well, in terms of thriving, I think be curious. Just don't, like you say, just do the job and just be out the door. Be curious, right? Learn about the company. Put yourself in, I like to say in the deep end. You should, because I feel like when you put yourself in a deep end, that's where the most growth is going to happen. If you're so comfortable, you're not going to grow as much as you need to. But if you put yourself in situations where you don't know something, that's where you actually learn, right? Because you're learning. You learn from things that you don't know, right? But if you're just doing something that you can do and you're not going to really, really, really grow. And for me, I think what helped me was that I wasn't scared to take challenges. I just took them on. Even if I wasn't completely confident, I still took them on. And again, that enabled me to continue to grow. Of course, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, can I actually do this? But at the end, I did learn how to do it, right? I learned who I could, reach out to. Again, you won't go through all of these things if you're living in the comfort zone. So yeah, that's how I've managed to thrive in my career. Just put myself in, challenging situations. And if somebody asks me to do it, rather than saying, no, I'm not going to do it, even if it's a difficult task, I'll be like, okay, cool. Let me figure out how I can solve the problem, like you say. So yeah, I think that's definitely valuable advice. Thank you so much, Tobi. It's been a great episode. What do you have planned next for Diverse?
Just got to keep growing, man. Like, you've got to keep the main thing. You can't waver too much from that North Star that I mentioned. It's easy to we're like magpies sometimes, get distracted by shiny things, but you kind of got to keep focusing on what's working and keep, I have this philosophy that as long as I do what's best for the candidates, for the students and the graduates, then it will work out, because the opportunities will be there. So we just got to keep growing, so get more students. So wearediverse.io, that's the website. Just come on, sign up, everything's free. We got free careers events, loads of resources and opportunities with really good employers as well. So just to help as many people as you can get jobs with inclusive employers. That's the goal. And then eventually more of them will be starting their own businesses as well. And we want to build that community in different ways, and they'll be collaborating with each other with their businesses. So it's really, really exciting. Wow, fantastic. And you say you have a podcast as well? Yeah, the Diverse Podcast. You can find that everywhere. Google, Apple, Spotify. All over the place. And you have an Instagram page. What's your Instagram handle? So we are diverse everywhere. Okay, we are diverse. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube channel too? Not Twitter. Twitter. Careers is doing all right. Yeah. That's a lot to do. I know. Yeah, you can get one of your new employees as well. Meet me on LinkedIn as well. Tobi going to pay on LinkedIn, or Diverse on LinkedIn. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tobi. Do you have any final words for the listeners? I think Well, number one, keep listening to this podcast, and because I think what you're sharing is really, really important. I wish I knew this. I wish I at least just knew about index funds when I was little.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, we got EFSO coming up on that soon in a few weeks. Yeah. That's coming up.
So no, I would say that, and I would just lean into whatever is like unique to you. That's kind of been the theme of this a little bit, like, you know, with your interviews and your applications and stuff, like. You being whoever you are, that's what you want to reflect, and you know, try and be personal, try and be unique. Same in entrepreneurship, keep redefining what you do until you're the best in the world at it, because it's so niche to you.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely the first time I've heard about doing the refinement until you're the best in the world. I really like how you put that, because what you're effectively saying is that just think to yourself that you're constantly going to improve. And I think a lot of people forget that we've always improved our whole lives. If you think about like where you came from, like literally a toddler to now, it's all improvement, it's all development. But so many people are so focused on being it now. But okay, let's say hypothetically you became it now. You became the whoever you needed to be, whoever you wanted to be. You made whatever you needed to right now. What else would you have to do?
Exactly.
Right?
That would be a problem.
Right? That would be very boring.
Yeah, that's like a lot of, you know, Olympians, they struggle with depression, right?
Yeah.
If they, you know, win a gold medal, you know, come back and you think, well, that's what I trained my entire life for.
Yeah.
So that's like a scary moment.
Yeah.
So it's all about, it's a cliche, but it's all about the process of what you do.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey. You've got to really embrace that and go for that. And you got to realize that, you know, you got to love the process every single day, and you build up over time. And what I've learned, and I struggled with this balance in the past of driving to get better versus being sort of happy with who I am now.
Yeah.
And I kind of just learned this recently, but it's kind of like, it's a balance between sort of being aspirational, having higher ambitions, but at the same time being really honest with your expectations. You know, so your expectation is, you know, how it might be about how much money you make, or how many people you get jobs, or where you get your business. Your ambitions might be a lot higher than that, and so, you know, that's absolutely fine. So you just got to really embrace the journey that you're going along, and, you know, you today, you're enough today. You tomorrow, you're going to be enough tomorrow. So, you know, you kind of can't be like, oh, I want to be that person next year, because next year you want to be the person next year. You got to be happy with who you are.
Exactly. You've always got to be, and I love that you're saying that, like, you just have to just be happy with where you are now. And actually, what is so bad with where you are now? Like, obviously, if it's in a good place, if you're in a good place, you know, you got food to eat, you can pay your bills, you got a good job, you got a good family system, friends, and all that. What is the worry? What's the rush? I don't understand this whole instant gratification. I think a lot of it comes from social media. A lot of, I want this now, so I can show off and I can say that I'm this and I'm that, and I'm like,
yeah,
no one
cares. No one cares. That's
really?
The thing that
it's a novelty for like a few weeks and then it's gone.
But no one cares about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like sit around thinking, oh, I can't believe you said that. Like, everyone think about themselves. We got nothing to worry about. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one sat around thinking about your Instagram all day long. They're in their own
Some people think that's what it is.
They don't, like, the world doesn't
it doesn't revolve around you.
Which should be a nice feeling. I don't know. That helps me sometimes. It's like, we're so individually, we think everyone's always thinking about us. Really, no one is. No one is. We're all thinking about ourselves in some simple way, you know?
Yeah. And I love that you say also enjoy the process, because the truth of the matter is the process is always going to be happening. You know, you shouldn't think of the process as, you know, sometimes it is hard work, but you shouldn't see the process as a negative, because the process will always be there. You got to do process in anything you need to do. If you want to learn a new language, you have to take the time to, you know, if you want to invest, you have to take the time to research. You have to be patient with your investments. If you want to build a business, you have to do that. If you want to build your career, you know, look at the people who have, you know, get to the top. They've done that for 20, 30 years and they're still passionate, but they still have new goals at that point after doing that for 20 to 30 years, because that's just what it is. And that's how it will always be, right? And I feel like we have to start thinking about enjoying the process. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's really, really not that bad. But yeah, thank you so much, Tobi, and thank you for the final words. It's been a great episode. I hope, listeners, that you really enjoyed this. You know, Tobi's spat a lot of gems. You know, we got a bit of entrepreneurship. We got a bit of career guidance. If you do need, you know, help with your careers, definitely make sure to check out Tobi's content. It's really, really great content. I'm also going to be tuning into his podcast. I didn't actually know until today that he had a podcast. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, and hope you are too. We'll see you next week.
Amazing.